I think that inventory transparency and this program level metadata and then pod positioning in general, it's really important in terms of this end state of media buyers and advertisers being able to have more control in targeting and then reporting in connected TV environments. If you look at the linear television landscape as an example, there's a tremendous amount of control in terms of buyers knowing which shows that they're buying into and what networks they're buying into. But conversely, when we're looking at the connected TV space, there's still a bit of, need for increased availability of control over targeting and reporting. And I think that there's a tremendous value that advertisers will get when having access to this in terms of having pod position data, because it does allow for better business outcomes. So again, I think having access to that granular level of targeting is really critical in terms of having intentional ad slot placements, which would theoretically then allow for better business outcomes.
And with inventory transparency, I wanted to ask you about business rules, things like competitive separation, ad deduplication, ad adjacency. Why are these rules so important in CTV, particularly the portions bought and sold programmatically?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that it really comes down to two key priorities, right? So there's user experience, and then also going back to the business outcomes for an advertiser. I think brands really have this opportunity right now to get in front of users while they're watching video on connected TV environments, hopefully enjoying the segments that they're watching. And I think it's up to us now as ad tech partners and suppliers to make sure that we're not messing up this user experience by delivering the same ad over and over again. And then going back to business outcomes, I would say that it's really ensuring competitive separation and then ensuring that there's not this brand dilution by having two competitive ads next to each other or competing for ad positioning. So if I were to summarize, I really think it just comes back down to really this user experience and then better business outcomes for advertisers.
And I was hoping you could elaborate a bit more on the advertiser's perspective. What's some of the biggest challenges they face? What are the big opportunities in connected TV and TV more broadly?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think one of the biggest challenges that we continue to see in the space in general is fragmentation. And it's really fragmentation as it relates to these video endpoints in the ecosystem. There are multiple providers, multiple platforms and devices for consumers to be consuming content. And while that's great for, again, the end user, you have control over what you watch and when, it does create a bit of a disparate buying environment and a bit of fragmentation. And so while that's a challenge, I will say the good news is there's always opportunity where a challenge presents itself. So I think that, the good news is we're seeing a great deal of innovation in some pockets of supply being made more readily available in these automated environments. And we're really starting to see suppliers leaning in as well to help solve this problem. So yes, fragmentation is definitely a large challenge in the space, but I still think there's an enormous amount of opportunity to help solve for this. And we're continuing to start seeing that progress already.
And when it comes to these opportunities, what does the future of CTV advertising and monetization hold? Do you have any bold predictions for the next few months or years?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I'm going to be optimistic on this one as well and say that I think that we are going to see a continued focus on all things convergence. I think that the ability to transact across linear and set-top box VOD supply, as well as connected TV, with this increased level of data for targeting and reporting, that's the end goal. That's what we're all trying to get to. We are starting to see progress in these efforts in the last year. I think companies are really starting to push boundaries. I think that they're starting to look to test new buying opportunities. And then convergent technology is really starting to emerge. And those that have the tech are really continuing to iterate on it in a positive manner. So I'm pretty confident that I think that we'll see a substantial progress towards convergent buying this year.